Hey Rangers, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the news that dropped about Power Rangers, and I'm going to give my kind of thoughts on it as we kind of look both through the Hollywood Reporter, link in the description, as well as the Hasbro press release as well. That'll be in the description as well. But yeah, let's kind of jump into this. But if you want to see more content like this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as that cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop, and let's have a look. So this article kind of has a lot of kind of information that we know. This article has a lot of information that's had a lot of people go, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And I'm kind of interested. Now, when I first read this, I was just like, oh, they're just talking about the film. I don't care. So my brain kind of switched off, and I was like, So when kind of reading up on it, I was just like, okay, what does all this mean? And there are some very kind of interesting little bits in this. So jumping over to Heat Vision, it pretty much says a lot. And it says Jonathan Entwistle, I hope I got his name right. We're just gonna call him Jonathan all the way through this. So he has now been apparently in charge of shepherding in the next series of screen adaptations of Hasbro's E1 arm, and he takes the reign of the superhero franchise. The Power Rangers are morphing again. Now this pretty much goes over and says stuff like he is going to be taking the reins. He created End of the Effing World, and he co-created the recent series I'm Not Okay With This, and both are very interesting. I watched one episode of End of the Effing World, wasn't a huge fan of it, but I'm really kind of liking I'm Not Okay With This because it seems a lot. This article kind of like glosses over and says like, hey, this is what's going on, this is what he's done, he's got a vision for this entire thing. And it kind of caught my eye because if you've seen End of the Effing World as well as I'm Not Okay With This, you can see what sort of kind of direction that this could possibly go in. And the Hasbro press release will talk about this, as there are a few things that I kind of saw. I was like, oh, they have just given a little bit of hint. But let's look over this article and I'll give my kind of thoughts on it. So starting at the top, Jonathan, the creator of the Netflix series End of the Effing World, has been entrusted to engineer and shepherd the next series of screen adaptations of Power Rangers, the colourful Hasbro superhero property, which is fine. Moving down, so he says like, but while other recent efforts have focused primarily on the big screen, the new initiative will see Entwistle, or Jonathan, overseeing and directing both film and television adaptations. Now, with this, when you first read it, it does kind of look around and say, oh, cool, well, you know, Sentai, and then the future. But really, looking back at it, it could mean that you could go back to Mighty Morphin, he could go to Time Force, he could even take the comic books, Hyperforce, everything like that, and bring them in together, and that's the adaptation. Doesn't mean that this is continuing on with the Sentai, as I know a lot of people are like, Sentai type thing. This really doesn't say, hey, this is carrying on with Toei, because we know that there is a split, or possible split so far, but everything that we've seen just literally screams, goodbye Sentai, hello Power Ranger brand. So the article keeps going on saying like, you know, the production banner has been acquired by Hasbro, because the move comes as E1, which is fine, which is the animation kind of studio, which we know that Hasbro wanted for a while. It becomes more active in development and production of adaptations of the Hasbro-based brands, and that's what it is. A Power Ranger feature was previously in development by Jonathan at Paramount, and now the reins have been taken by E1, I keep on saying 1E, while Jonathan's involvements will deepen. And that's a good thing, because if you've watched his previous shows, you can tell that there is a whole different meaning. This isn't just the nice part of Power Rangers where it's exactly the same. He could now bridge everything together. He could say, hey, I'm going to link the comics with the series, but I want to change my morphing. We're going to reboot everything, and we're going to tell it the way that we want it. So keywords in any Hollywood is reimagine. So when you see something like a brand like, oh, look at Charmed, for example, we're reimagining how the brand is. We're reimagining how the series is going to be told. It's always key buzzwords that you need to look out. And this is where it says in here, Jonathan has an incredible creative vision for this iconic and hugely successful franchise, and is hands down the right architect, I think, to join us as we reimagine the television and film worlds of the property. That is the key thing that we need to look at, reimagine. So again, I think in some of the other videos that I've been kind of looking into kind of get more of a base where it says, hey, this is a top tier legacy, and then this is something else. So we can look back at the legacy version, and then we can now look at the new version and kind of compare, and possibly we may get new kind of like we may get like a crossover with the original series, with the original Rangers. But look at this, and I think this is a very good way, mainly because at the very end of the day, the Rangers are getting older and older, and we can't always bring back, say, Tommy or Jason. We can bring back the newer guys, like say in Dino Charge or in say Samurai or Megaforce or whatever. But from what we've seen of how Hasbro and Nickelodeon, as we saw in like Grid Connection, that Jason wasn't utilized that well. It was more kind of like, hey, let's bring him back, and that was particularly it. That's all you kind of really saw whatever. But this means that we can have a new kind of team always kind of building up, and that's what I think a lot of fans kind of really want to see. Across our slate, we are looking forward to working with the most talented storytellers as we take on Hasbro's rich fan favorite brands and build the entertainment universes around them, the duo stated. This is an unbelievable opportunity to deliver new Power Rangers. Again, that word, you've got reimagined, but new, that also kind of brings it in and says, hey, this could be a whole new Power Rangers, not what we're used to. And again, I think that is good to both new and existing generations of awaiting and adoring fans. We'll bring the script from analog into the future, harnessing the action and storytelling that made this brand a success, said Jonathan. So again, it's that particular sentence that you really need to kind of look into. New. So it's their version. It's not going to be stuff with like maybe Sentai or anything like that, because they're very restricted. So why would you want to take on a brand that you're very restricted to, where now you could turn around and say, well, we've got this money, let's make our own stuff. We don't particularly need this. So, we don't need the Sentai element. We can just make it all American. And this is one thing that I've noticed with the fan base. We get two areas. One, I want all American, I want all original footage, and then suddenly you'll get, no, I want all Sentai footage. I want it to be exactly the same as it is normally. But with this, it just means that we'll get a deeper storytelling. Definitely, if you're of age, go and watch I'm Not Okay With This, and you can see the sort of storytelling and the kind of maybe the way it's going to go. I think that'll be kind of interesting because it'll be a different version of Power Rangers. Jumping into Hasbro's Spotlight, I didn't know this even existed until I found out through someone else, but it pretty much goes into the same sort of stuff that we've seen before, but it does carry on some different things. This article is pretty much exactly what the Hollywood Reporter announced. Again, it's here. Jonathan has come on board to shepherd a new film and television adaptations of Power Rangers. Again, as I say, I can't stress this enough, it hasn't said anything about Super Sentai, because normally you would see that adaptations of Super Sentai. E1 will develop and produce projects with Ensworth to set and direct across both formats, which I'm really kind of looking forward to. In 2018, Hasbro acquired the Power Rangers franchise from Saban Brands, releasing their first products in the early 2019. In addition to, and this is the one thing here, the new non-kid projects under Jonathan, Power Rangers inspired kid series Beast Morphers is currently airing now. Or in the UK, it's already finished. Hasbro's film properties include Dungeons and Dragons as well as Transformers and G.I. Joe. But look at this whole thing down here. In addition to the new non-kid projects. So can you imagine that we would get more advanced storytelling, more deeper stuff, maybe like the CW shows? Can you imagine what we would get where Power Rangers moves into something completely different? And I think this is what Hasbro wanted, and I think that Hasbro kind of kept for a very long time. One thing that I think Hasbro has really wanted to do is kind of target, go for the adult generation, for the kids that grew up with Power Rangers back in the 90s, because literally you can see how the progression of the series went. It went from kind of goofy to the kind of serious, and then it went back to goofy, and then it kind of went to, hey, let's just redo 93 and keep it like that. But with this, it means that it can step out and it can be different. Can you imagine seeing a series on Netflix that has more of a kind of dark-ish tone? I've talked about this quite a few times on the channel as well, but this one, we can have a darker type of tone, CW type of show. I think that would be kind of really cool, where, you know, it's not just here is the rubber suits, here is something like that. Can you imagine just how, like, you have bad guys that may not be giant rubber suits, may actually be humanoid, may be completely different, and in the format of a kind of bit darker, how much they could include in the series, where they are kind of locked in with Super Sentai already, but now they can turn around and say, hey, we want to go more diverse, we want to have more bad guys, we want to have a proper series that the older fans could really get into. And I think this is the main point, where, again, the new non-kid projects. So it means that you could carry on with an animated series from E1, you could carry on with certain things, but now you can see how the market's growing. The fans have demanded that the series gets darker, the series gets this, and now, in a way, they're kind of giving it to us to see, is this what the fans want, or are we just literally saying one thing and then not doing it? That's that one there. I think that there is a ton of information in this, but then also kind of not a lot of information in this at the same time. So I'm really kind of glad that we're now starting to get a universe where everything is linked. The comics are now linked. The TV series, the original canon universe, is linked. And then now we're getting a whole new version. And they're not linked right now, but when this happens, boom, I think it will be a great thing altogether. And I think a lot of fans will see this and go, holy crap, I want this. I really, 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 really want this now. I don't know. I think that all of this is kind of pointing. I love the fact that they've not really mentioned Super Sentai, apart from this was built around a live action superhero TV series in the Tokusatsu franchise, Super Sentai. But the main things that we need to look at are kind of three things in this. So recap time. So we got new, reimagine, and new non-kid projects. Those are what we need to kind of take out. And I don't know, just seeing all this information kind of makes me really excited for the way that the brand goes. Is this going to be a flop? Who knows? But if you've got a great director who wants to take the brand to the next level, and Hasbro want to do this, I think this is a good thing. I think that we are going to see a ton of stuff, and it's just, I don't know. I'm kind of liking, I am not okay with this. I kind of really want to watch more. I was like, oh, I'll just watch the first episode. And I ended up watching 4. But when I watched like the end of the effing world, I didn't kind of like get in on that one a lot. But this one I absolutely adore. I think this is going to be cool. So yeah, I think this is cool. I'm going to end it there. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So yeah, what are your thoughts on this? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you like this sort of video and you want to see more, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And yeah, just like let me know your thoughts and we'll have a conversation about it. So yeah, in the meantime, thank you very much for watching and I'll catch you in the next video.